written this book called Culture Eats Strategy for Breakfast. We all hear about strategy as a very, very important thing. He said strategy might be big, but culture eats it for breakfast. It is nothing compared to culture. And why did he say that? Because he said the best of strategy can only remain on paper. Its effectiveness is only when it is implemented. And it is organization culture which makes sure that strategy can actually get effectively implemented. And who is responsible for culture? The CEOs are saying, I want the HR person here to take ownership for building the right organization culture. That's the second important thing that the CEOs are expecting from HR. So capabilities and next culture. Third, in today's context, change is something that is happening all the time. And to be able to do effective change, there is a certain methodology and a certain approach which is required. And they said we want HR people to facilitate the right kind of change management in our organization, so that they are continuously changing, keeping abreast with the latest challenges and demands. So 3 C's is what the CEOs are expecting from HR. Organization capability, organization culture, and ability to manage change. This, they said, is a priority for HR. So HR should focus on something which is very, very critical. It is these 3 things. And this is today and going forward. Now you may ask, but we didn't study any of these things. We are learning, recruitment, we are learning training and development, we are learning industrial relations, we are learning HR operations. That's the kind of job we are also doing. But we are not doing this. What is the mismatch here? Now those are the fundamental expectations of HR. It is what we call as par for the course. If you don't do recruitment, it is not that you will not get rewards, you will get fired. That is hygiene factors. Yes, fundamental factors. So you have to recruit, you have to train, you have to pay, you have to measure performance. But those are par for the course. That is not adding value to the organization. That is making the organization run. If you want to add value to the organization, then you better think in terms of organization capabilities. Think in terms of organization culture. Think in terms of change management. That's the, if you ask me, cherry on the cake. The cake is made up of bread, it's made up of butter, it is made up of cream, but then on top you put the cherry. That's when the cake really adds value. Yeah? That's what is expected by the CEOs. Now these things, if you don't do well, they get dissatisfied. If you do it well, they get satisfied. They get delighted when you build capabilities, build the right culture, and build change management capabilities. Okay, so that's what we got from the CEOs. Then we asked the HR people. We said, okay, we asked the CEOs, let's ask the HR people. What do you think the CEOs want? We wanted to understand whether they already know this or not. The good news is, they knew that the CEOs wanted this. So, HR is doing something good. They are at least listening to the CEOs on a regular basis. So they know, yes, they want capability, they want culture, they want change. Then we said, tell us, how is HR doing? Are the HR people doing many of these things well or not doing it well? So the CEOs rated HR in recruitment, in HR operations, in performance management, in employee relations, in leadership development, in organization development. In all these aspects they rated them. And HR people also rated themselves. And we measured and balanced these 2 things. What did we find? HR people thought they were doing everything the best, or at least most of the things the best. The CEOs thought some things they did very well, some things they did not do very well, and some things they did well. It was a balanced scorecard from the CEOs. and we try to compare and say, where is the biggest gap? The biggest gap was in the area of leadership and management development. The CEOs thought not much or not enough is being done as far as leadership development is concerned. The HR people thought they are doing a lot in that area. So clearly what they want and what they are delivering is not matching. So one of the big gap areas is leadership and management development. The second area with the big gap is performance management. HR people thought they are doing very well. Leaders did not think they are doing as well. And if you look at it really deeply, you will understand why this gap exists. HR people think running the performance management cycle, getting the forms filled, getting it on time, putting it for increment processing, and releasing the increment letters or promotion letters or training nominations is performance management, and I'm doing that very well. Because earlier it used to take 6 months, today we are able to finish it in 4 weeks. And it is all happening on time, so it's very good, I'm very happy. The CEO is not thinking of the process. They are thinking about, oh, is performance really improving? We are not worried about the process. We are interested in the result. Is this year's performance better than last year's performance? What percentage of our people have actually improved on their performance? Not by way of score, A instead of B or 80% instead of 70%. When people perform, it has to result in organization performance. Is the organization performing better, and is it being supported? And what is HR doing to help this process of performance development? So managing performance is not about forms, it's about the output of performance. That's the gap. And this needs to be understood by HR, and HR needs to do it differently. Okay? That brings me to another concept. How do HR people actually function? And we started to look at that. We went and met a lot of HR people and said, tell me what all you do in a day. What all you do in a year. What all have you done in the last 6 years? And when we studied that, and we also studied what has happened in the context of HR. What has happened in the last 10-15 years in HR? If I think about it, one of the biggest things that's happened in HR in the last 10-15 years is automation. There is a lot more automation in HR than what it was 15 years ago. Everything is digital, right? The performance of personal files, earlier we used to have racks and racks of personal files. Today nobody opens a personal file. You open your laptop and you look at the personal records. Digitization has happened. Your pay slips are no longer slips. It actually is digitized. Your promotion letter and your appointment letters are soft copies. There's a lot of automation, which is good. And it has helped HR become more efficient. Because there used to be a time when they used to say, 10th pay is supposed to be made, but for a few people there will be error in the pay slips, so therefore they will be paid only on the 11th or the 12th. Appointment letters may happen 2 months after the person is appointed. Promotion letters will happen 6 months after the date of promotion. Retrospective. These are now not heard of, because these things happen much, much faster. Why? Because there is a greater support from automation. So HR is one of the functions which has benefited from automation in a big way. Big tick. Yeah? When you look at what else has happened in the concept of HR, HR is becoming very good and efficient in implementation, which was a big problem earlier. Today, that is not an issue. So if you ask me, there is this paradigm called doing, thinking, and feeling. It's a concept that we have spoken about in the book. Doing, thinking, feeling. HR person today is focused a lot in doing. They're so busy. So when we ask them what all you're doing, canteen and doing this and this, the function has to be done, that has to be done, people have to be recruited, 1,000 people have to be recruited, salary increment has to be created. There is so much to do. Very, very busy. HR people are the busiest. And they are also doing well. That is what we call the dimension of doing. Now, there is another dimension which is called the thinking dimension. Where you got to think, why are we doing this and what will happen if this is done well? What is expected, and to achieve that, what do we need to do? For example, the CEO is expecting that performance improvement takes place. So if I think about it and then I say, if improvement has to happen, what should I do apart from just getting the forms? So the forms have to be designed to identify which is the area of performance that needs improvement. How can that be improved? So people can comment and then we actually do the right thing, then the performance. So the thinking aligns results with actions. So it's not just doing, you align it with end results, for which you have to think. So we have learned to do a lot of things. We have learned to interview people, we have learned to train people, we have learned to do performance assessment, we have learned to ensure if people have to be hired, we can call them and hire them. If people have to be removed, we can call them and fire them. All this we have learned and we do it. Are we thinking enough, or are we waiting for somebody to tell us hire? Or are we waiting for somebody to tell us saying that now fire? Waiting for somebody to tell us saying that now you need to train? Or are we thinking on our own? So the thinking dimension is about when HR thinks. One of the questions that Nandi asked is saying that, how can we become CEOs? What do CEOs do? What do organizational leaders do? They think on behalf of the organization. So as HR professionals, we are very good at doing today. We need to develop our ability to think and develop therefore the agenda to be done, rather than waiting for somebody to give us the agenda. If we were to draw up an agenda saying that for my organization, for it to be successful in the next 5 years, this is the kind of capability that is required. And this capability is not there in my company today. I need to get that capability. One, by recruiting some people with that capability. Two, building that capability in some people existing in the organization. Three, measuring for that capability. My performance assessment must measure for that capability. And my training function must measure saying that that is improving or not improving. Is the needle moving? And then when you do it, you are then bringing in the thinking element into your function. You are thinking on behalf of what is required and then doing what is required to make that thinking happen. So that you bring both thinking and doing together. There are examples of this being done well in some companies. So it is not as if it's not being done. There are examples here of companies who do that very well. The thinking and the doing. One example I'll tell you. Somebody was asking me to give some examples of good practices. Aditya Birla Group in 2016 said, we will not hire people from outside our company for leadership positions unless it is a dire emergency. Otherwise, for 3 years, let's not recruit senior leaders from outside. Freeze senior leadership recruitment. Why did they do that? This was a thinking by HR. So I am giving an example of thinking HR. They said, we are recruiting a lot of good talent at the junior level. We are also recruiting talent at the senior levels. The junior people are growing and then not finding opportunities and they are going away. And we are recruiting senior people from outside. So there is continuous recruitment activity both at the junior level and at the senior level. They said, if we said no more senior people coming in, organization needs senior people, needs experienced people. But if you say this source is shut out, then you are forced to develop people from within to fill those gaps. And if you don't develop and you get the wrong kind of people there, what will happen? Organization will suffer. And you as the leadership team are responsible for organization performance. They then invest time, money and effort in developing people from here so that they can fill those things. So in the last 3 years, it has led to greater number of internal talent getting developed and groomed. Not that they are not recruited from outside, they have recruited but very minimum. Maximum number has grown from within. Now, they will not continue this forever because at some point of time you have to compare the internal talent with the external talent. But for a period of time, they have frozen that and forced this. And this is a good example of thinking combined with doing. If you want to build internal talent, we have to force some policies and things like that and do it differently so that they are able to build this. Yeah. What kind of talent do we need? Yeah, that is what job specification is. What kind of a capability is required to do this job is defined by job specification. I need somebody with 20 years of experience. I need somebody with an engineering qualification. I need somebody with the ability to manage thousands of people. I need somebody who is able to not just think but also influence. That is job specification. Specifying what is it that will help you to make the job happen in the right way is job specification. That's very important. In a lot of places we do job description. Job description is saying what is the job intake. Oh, he has to make plans, he has to review the performance, he has to pass orders and he needs to pass bills and he needs to review people. That's a job description. It describes the job. But to do that well, what capabilities does he need? That's the job specification. And what did the CEO say? I want organizational capabilities. So HR needs to start thinking from specifications point of view rather than just from a description point of view. When we are recruiting people, we need to have not just the job description, we need the job specification. What kind of a person are you wanting? And why do you want that specification? Understanding it by linking it to the job description. Then you are thinking. If you just take the specification, run and go and recruit and come, you are doing the job. But if you ask the question and link it with the job description and then go and get the person, then you are thinking and you are doing. So both dimensions are, the thinking dimension and the doing dimensions are all both in partnership. This is beginning to happen. More and more HR people are beginning to ask, think and then do, which is very, very good. But there is another dimension which we found is unfortunately missing in the HR space, which is what we call as the feeling dimension. Some of you, like me with some white hair, will understand 50 years ago, HR was only a feeling function. People used to say, you can't even do anything here, HR does not do anything. They are only saying, oh poor fellow, you have to take care of him, you must not do this because they will suffer. We were a feeling function at that point of time. Why? Because the jobs that HR people did in those times was predominantly welfare. There was the welfare officer position was what HR people occupied. The job description of a personal person at the time was welfare. Is the employee well clothed? Is the uniform there? Is he taken care of? Is he being fed properly? Canteen is it working okay or not? Is the salary being paid or not? Is the perquisite happening or not? Does he have enough money to go and take his family out? So the thinking was welfare. And what did it require? What was the job spec of the welfare officer, specification for the welfare officer was, does he feel for the employees? Does he understand who the employee is? What the employee wants? What will make the employee happy? What will make the employee satisfied? Feeling was the specification at that point of time. Then people said, no, you have to recruit thousands of people, you have to train thousands of people. Job description changed, specification changed, feeling went out, doing came. He must be an action-oriented person. He must be able to run to 20 different places and make sure things happen on time. The job specification of the HR person changed to doing. Today, the job specification of the HR person is you think and you should do. Business acumen is there. Does he understand business? Does he understand marketing? Does he understand sales? Does he understand results? Can he read P&L statement? Can he see the business results? And can he work towards that? So the job specification for an HR person today seems to be thinking and doing. Feeling has been forgotten. Just think about it. Every function has got a value to add to business. The sales and marketing function adds value because they understand the consumer well. Because they understand the consumer well, they are able to influence the organization doing the right thing to fulfill their expectations. The finance function understands the regulatory requirements. And because of that, they know the balance sheet has to be drawn in this particular fashion. These are the acts that have to be complied with. Finance is available from these sources at this kind of a cost, which is the least expensive finance source. They understand the financial market and the regulations so that they are able to add value. The engineering person understands the latest technology that is available to be able to deliver the product within the organization. And they therefore are able to come and add value. Now as HR person, what is the value add that we are doing? If we are in the people business, do we understand our people the best? Are we the best in understanding people and people's capabilities, people's motivation, people's orientation and people's performance? If we don't, then we are not fit to do the people function. If you only think, anybody can think, to be very honest. Do, most people can do. Feel, unfortunately, very few people are able to feel. Not that they can't, that they have not developed that element. In an organization, we are talking about organization capability. In the organization, who is the thinker? Many people will put up their hands. Every function will put up its hands. Who are the doers? Every function will put up its hands. If you ask consumer insight, the marketing fellows will put up their hands. If you ask for financial acumen, the finance people will put up their hands. If you ask for technological insights, the technology people will put up their hands. People insights, maybe everybody will put up their hands, but it's only to this extent. Who is the expert? HR should put up their hands. And if they put up their hands, they must really be able to add value in that dimension. What is it that differentiates people from many other resources? There is this human element. There is this feelings dimension. Today we are talking of artificial intelligence. Okay? Very soon artificial intelligence will be able to replace the thinking of human beings. Robots will be able to replace the doing aspect of the human beings. The one thing which is still not yet being automated is feelings. And if we don't understand the feelings of people, and if we don't able to appreciate what it means, that element, we are not doing our jobs properly. If we are the people champion in our organizations, the feeling dimension is so very important. So if you are, that's what we have realized looking at the here and now. The doing aspect of HR is improved significantly. The thinking aspect is being paid attention to. The feeling aspect is not in the scenario at all. If this continues, what Ramcharan is saying, that HR will be disbanded and done away, we don't need HR, might come true. The way to make sure HR is adding value is to ensure that we are in touch with the feeling dimension. We don't have to be only feelings people. We must combine it. The doing, thinking and feeling. It's a three-way kind of a fulcrum which needs to be kept in mind and built and developed. So one of the biggest challenge for HR going forward is balance between doing, thinking and feeling. Doing is pretty good today, thinking is happening, needs to improve, feeling is almost absent, can we bring it back? Now, this is a real issue. In business schools today, HR's course is being filled with engineers. Why? Because thought is only job. I can't get an engineering job, let me get an HR job. There's nothing wrong in engineers coming to HR. But are they investing enough to develop the feeling quotient in them? Because that is what is required. Because if you are talking of analytical capabilities, it's part of the course. Everybody can analyze. If HR manager can analyze, finance manager can also analyze, even if not better. The technical manager can also analyze. The value that you add is the feeling dimension. Understanding the human being. Not just theoretically, but in reality. That needs to be invested in. So if you ask me, HR people must honestly ask themselves, do I know my people? Not by names, not by numbers, not by data. Do I know them by their intrinsic feelings? What do they feel happy about? What do they feel sad about? What do they feel frustrated about? What do they feel hopeful about? Do you know your employees? I'm sure many of you know your employees in that fashion. But that needs to be strengthened and furthered. That's when you'll be valued within the organization. So the CEO says, when I talk to my HR person, he must add value to my already existing thinking. I know that more people are motivated, I know recruitment has to be done, I know this has to be done. But if we can add a new dimension, say, you know what, if only we provided some space for them to develop their interest, they will be far more engaged, they'll be far more motivated to deliver. That's a new insight and input. That's what I'm interested in. What is it that they will like? Do you know that? Don't give me theory, but tell me in practice. What do our people really like? So when we make managerial decisions, I want the HR person to add value from a position of knowledge and experience. They know my people and they know the feelings of my people. And they are able to add value to my decision. Otherwise, I don't need him in the room to make decisions with me. I can make the decision and tell him what and implement. The only way I will involve him in decision making is because he or she adds value to my decision making process by giving me inputs which are not already available with me and which will come because they have a better connect with the people. They are in the day-to-day relationship with people and they understand people. So that's the dimension that we are talking about as the doing, feeling, thinking dimension. Yeah, that's an important aspect that we have spoken about. The professional development of people. So how do professionals actually develop themselves? HR professionals, all of us go through a course. Many of us have done Master in Social Work. Many of us have done Masters in Business Administration. Some of us have done post-graduation in Human Resource Management. So we study a lot of theories. We study a lot of different contexts and things like that. But once we come into the organization, we stop paying attention to our learning and development on a continuous basis. That's very important. And there are steps in which it needs to. And we have looked at it and we said, there are probably 3 different dimensions of development for the HR professional. There is one as a professional development. Second is the development as a partner in business. And there's a development as a leader in the business. So 3 different segments we have mentioned. As a professional, you have to start appreciating the practical aspects of what we have studied. We know the principles of learning. What kind of learning methodologies work? Some people like reading, some people like doing, some people like listening, some people would learn best by actually interacting and discussing. So these are theories of effective learning. But in my organization, do I know which one works best? Or am I just doing all classroom lessons? Do I know the participant's profile? If I know the participant's profile, then I can design the program accordingly. So you have to learn the practical aspects of many of the things. The second thing is really about trying out the different things that I've learned, doing it myself. So in the initial years, you want to recruit people, you want to sit in interviews and interview people and see whether you're able to find the right candidate. Can you stand in front of a class and train the class? Yeah? Can you actually do the calculations and be able to come up with saying that what is the benchmark increment that we must give to our people? What is the basis on which it's developed? So it's a lot of practice that happens in the initial stages for your professional development. In reality, many of you may find that you're finding your first job in only one area. Your job is only to recruit people. You're on the recruitment team. So in the next 3 years, you're only recruiting. You will become a recruitment specialist. But for your overall development, it's very important that you learn to do the other things as well. It's very important that you learn to develop, design, and deliver training programs. It's important to look at the HR administration. What are all the different aspects that need to be covered? So that job rotation is very, very important. So through this book, we are actually saying to HR heads of companies that when you get youngsters into your teams, don't only think about delivery and put them in one job and make them do the same job for 6 years and 7 years. Rotate them every 2 years. Give them exposure to the different aspects of the function, so that the first 8 years of their life, they are actually becoming people who are capable of doing any part of the HR job. That's when they are real strong professionals. Otherwise, you are using them as a very simple resource. And if you only have those kind of people, then you might as well outsource it. Somebody else might be able to do it far better than you do it inside. If you only want recruitment, build them into holistic professionals. And therefore, from a professional point of view, you have to seek that holistic development in all aspects of the profession. That's the professional development. And you have to be confident, not from a theoretical point of view only, but also from a practical point of view. Be able to understand how it works and how it impacts. Understand. So not just do, but start thinking as well. So you will start developing the thinking dimension. You will start getting exposure to different aspects of the HR function. That's how you can develop yourself professionally. Next, when we're talking on the partnership level, then you begin to understand how does what I do impact the business. What is the expectation from the business? What is it that is different in this business versus this business? What kind of process will make sure that this is getting delivered better than this? I have a performance management system. How do I map it to competencies? What competencies should I map it to? Which competencies will deliver what kind of organizational results? To be able to think through a whole systemic flow of the function in the organizational context is very important from a partner point of view. Because when you are a partner to a business leader, he or she is looking at you and saying, okay, what have you understood about my business? What are you going to do to help my business? How will this make a difference? So if you can provide answers to those thoughts and questions, you then become a good partner. So your ability to then redesign your workflow suited to the expectations is the capability of that of a partner. And also to be able to influence, because sometimes you have to influence the business to change things, to do the right results to be achieved later on. So will they listen to you? Do you have the credibility? Do you know how to influence them? They might be senior to you by position, but you have to influence them with good reason, with good insights. And if you're able to do that, then you are a successful partner. So success as a partner comes out of credibility and influence. And then your ability to also interact with different parts of your own function to make sure it's aligned to the overall thing. So your ability to strategize and think systemically is very important to be successful as a partner. So all of these elements is what is required as a partner. Then the next dimension is that of a leader level, where it's not only about the functional components, it's not only about the relationship with business, but it is really about visioning the future. Where are we headed as an organization? What is this organization likely to face tomorrow? My business also may not know it, but I am starting to think like a business leader. And therefore, what kind of changes will be required in capability, in culture, and managing this entire transition and change. So the expectation that the CEO spoke about, right in the very beginning, I mentioned that your capability, culture, and change comes into play at the leadership level. You have to start seeing what culture, what capability, and therefore how do I manage this change. So at the CHRO level, it's not about recruitment, it's not about training, it's not about performance, it's not about salaries. It's about organizational level thinking of capability, culture, and the organization's ability to change in a smooth, seamless, continuous manner. How can you drive this? How can you create the kind of leadership support for it? How do you get leaders to own this? Because it cannot be an HR agenda to change this, it needs to be an organization agenda. So the CHRO's ability to let go and say, it's okay if I'm not the leader of this change. I want the CEO to lead it. I want the finance director to lead this. I want the marketing director to lead it. Facilitating the leadership capability within the organization. That is the leadership dimension that is required. For which you need to be secure. If you are insecure and you're feeling, if they do it, then what will I get? I may not get any increment. They may think I am redundant and they may ask me to go. If you have those kind of fears, you'll never be able to do this. You need to be confident saying that I am actually helping them achieve it. And when they achieve it, they know that my help has helped them. And they will therefore want me to be their coach, their mentor, their buddy. They want me by their side when they are doing this. That's going to be extremely important. That's the transition that's required. And when they do that well, those are the kind of HR leaders who get opportunities in business. Because business leaders see them saying, you know what? He's been with me through thick and thin of this. In fact, my success is thanks to him. Why don't I ask him to run a business? And that's where the opportunity comes for the HR leaders to become business leaders. It's not necessary for all HR leaders to become business leaders. You can be a specialist saying that I only want to be a facilitator of change. I only want to be an advisor of cultural transformation. I only want to be a mentor of leadership development. Fine. Those of the HR people who want to become business leaders, they will have to demonstrate this. Because they think, because they do, and they feel they are likely to become better better business leaders too. And there are examples of HR leaders becoming good business leaders. And let me also tell you this. Let us not think that as HR people we have two horns. No. HR, as I told you, everybody does HR. You could also have a business leader who develops the feeling dimension as well as you can. Who also develops the ability to understand HR as well as you can. It's okay. We are not a separate breed. We are just focusing on people as a dimension. Just like we can also sell, the salesman can also be a good HR person. All that it calls for is understanding what it takes, being committed to it and making it happen. So it is not because we have an MBA HR that we are an HR professional. We are an HR professional because we practice good people principles. We understand the concepts of people principles. We appreciate and understand people as human beings. And anybody who can do that can be a good HR professional. In fact, in this book, we have said this book is addressed not to the HR professional. This book is addressed to the people champions. And it can be a line manager as well. It can be an HR manager as well. Whoever wants to be a champion of people will find HR practices useful and very important. Yeah. So that's the element that's required. Yeah. How do you transcend into those kind of things? I want to share with you two more dimensions before I open up for some more questions from all of you. There came a time when it became very expensive to have people on your rolls. So you started taking people as casual and contract. So the cost dimension made you move towards a different model of employment. Then came a, what shall I say, super specialization, which was required. And you could not afford to have those people within your organization. Therefore, you would go out and lease those services for a period of time to get it done. Example, construction. Let's assume there is building construction that needs to be done. Factories keep expanding, new factories come up. Do you have a complete civil contractor team inside your organization? You may have one engineer, civil engineer, who is a project manager, who outsources and gets building construction done. Yeah. Let's assume change, transformation. Organizations go through massive transformation. Okay. Now, what do organizations do? They ring up Harish and say, Harish, can you come and help us with transformation? I get my business that way. Because every company cannot have a transformation specialist. So, consultants are called in. You want to develop a strategy. You don't develop strategy every year. You develop it once in 5 years. You bring up McKinsey and you say, can you come and help us with strategy development? So you get specialist help outsourced. So these models are now beginning to happen. It is no longer everybody in your employment. And therefore, what determines this model? As HR people, they will tell us what model should we have. Now, how do you advise your leaders on this dimension? So, we are saying there is an evolving matrix that's taking place. One, the nature of the task. Is the nature of the task transactional or is it professional / transformational? What is transactional? That which is repetitive again and again and again and again. Like for example, if you have to operate this machine, it's a transactional thing. Feed in the raw material, operate the machine, output comes. Writing of payslip generation, transaction. Input, generate, output, check, verify, release. Those are transactional stuff. Professional, you have to make some decision. You have to take at some issues, look at it, think about the context and take a decision. You need to apply knowledge of the context before you take the decision. And it will change. Today's context is not tomorrow's context. Next month's context is not the same as next year's context. So you will have to keep applying here different sets of principles. That's calling for professional work. So transactional work and professional work on one scale. On the other scale, that which is flexible. Today I need it, tomorrow I don't know whether I need it. For example, in a manufacturing plant, you may say, right now it is mango season, so I want to do mango pulp and I want to do mango squash. Mango season is over, no more mangoes coming, I don't have to run that machine any longer. It's not sustainable. It is flexible or intermittent. On the other hand, tire manufacturing. Cycle tires, I have to manufacture it right through the year. Cycles will get punctured, tires will get torn, tires will be demanded year on year, so it is continuous. I need it sustained basis. Tire company itself, snow tires meant for snow conditions. No point manufacturing throughout the year. You need to manufacture it just before winter. So like this, there are fluctuations in requirements, flexibility versus sustainability. That which is sustained and that which is flexible. So if you look at these dimensions as a matrix, transactional, professional on one axis, flexible and sustainable. Adding one more dimension on the flexible and sustainable, cost conscious and quality conscious. Cost is very important. The cheaper it is, more will get sold. Versus, cost doesn't matter, the quality is so important. Irrespective of the cost, I buy it only if it's quality. Heart stents. Will you worry about cost or will you worry about quality? Quality. So, what is the driver for that? So, that's on the x-axis. And if you look at it, transactional work which is required on a flexible basis, what kind of resources do we need? What kind of people resources do we need? Full-time employees or part-time employees? Transactional, flexible. Part-time. You don't need them for 12 months and a year. You can take them when you want. Therefore, you look at casual, you look at contract, you look at outsourcing, you look at all of those things. So the model best suited for a transactional, flexible part of the work is, you look at what we call as temporary resources. Professional and flexible. I don't need it all the time, but when I need it of a very high caliber. What kind of resources do we need for that? Consulting. Get the consultant. It's a consultant. It's not somebody who just come and operate and go away. The quality is very high. Their experience is very important. Their credential is very important. But I need them only for 3 months. So then it is in that consulting space. Then you look at sustained. I need it all the time and I need it of a professional quality. For example, a CFO of my company, a CHRO of my company. I need it all the time and I need high quality. What do I need? I need full-time resources. I can't have temporary CHRO. I can't have consultant CHR. So that's professional, sustained, full-time. Then transactional, sustained. What do I need? I need it 12 months of a year, but it's transactional work. What do I need?
Outsource it.
I can outsource it, but sometimes outsourcing may not provide automation. So can I invest in automation? I own it. Because if I outsource it, if there is demand in the market, somebody pays a little more and that fellow goes away, I'll be stuck. That's what happens with temporary resources are market driven. Every day the price might change. I might be doing work for you this year. Next year somebody else is offering me 3 times. As a consultant I'll say, thank you very much Snyder. I've done enough work for you. Now I'm going to go to actually Toyota. Because I think they need me more. And I'm going to go and work there. Suddenly you'll find, who else can I get now? So if it's sustainable, you need your own resources. Or you need your own automated solutions. So this is how the matrix is moving. So when somebody says, can we automate HR? So the question to ask is saying there, what are we talking about here? Flexible, sustainable, routine, professional. Once you have this model, then you are able to think about saying that is this worth automating? Is this worth outsourcing? Is this worth building in-house? You now have a way of thinking through this problem. And then you are able to come to a better solution. Of course, context will change. What is flexible today might become sustainable tomorrow. What is sustainable today might become flexible tomorrow. With the context, you have to apply this framework. So we are again talking about this framework and saying, how do we manage this? So these are all examples of how HR is thinking. Because HR has begun to think, it's able to think of all these different ways of looking at issues. And if HR feels you are able to do it in a very humane way, then you are a holistic HR function. Thinking, doing, feeling, and applying the right models and taking it forward. So that's some things what we have mentioned here. And one last thing before I open up. Somebody said some examples of some good practices. What do other companies do? How many of you have heard of this company called Talocity? Talocity. Talocity. It's a startup. It's just a 12-month-old company. It's called Talocity. It's based in Gurgaon, but it's operating across India today. What are they doing? They are automating recruitment processes. So what are they saying? You have to recruit 10,000 people. To recruit 10,000 people, you have to probably see 10 lakhs of CVs. And then you have to interview maybe a lakh of people. Where is the time? Where is the consistency? How will we do it? And we need to do all of this in 2 months' time. Impossible. So they say, this is flexible. This is not sustainable. Not right to the year. We need to do it for 2 months in a year. Yeah? And it's a bit of transaction and a bit of professionalism. It's a combination of both these axes. Okay? We'll automate the transactional part and just bring in the professional thing to take calls. So what have they done? They've actually created an automated recruitment portal. Anybody who's interested fills out a CV in a particular format, posts it in. Artificial intelligence starts screening it and says, this kind of qualification is what is suited for this job. Screen, cut down the number of applicants to reasonable number of applicants. Artificial intelligence is doing that. Now they're saying, get them in front of a video camera and ask them to answer some questions. So there is a robotic questions popping to them from a video screen and they're answering. The whole thing is, interview is taped and then they press the button. So you do your own interview at home, answering the questions and you send it off. Again, there are some artificial intelligence filters with which they are looking at saying that, what are some of the right answers? They are now adding machine learning ability as a next filter to that and saying that, what kind of answers are best suited for selection? Who got selected eventually? Bring that learning into this process. Somebody who gave this answer, which is also a right answer, got selected eventually. Versus somebody who gave this answer, which is also right but didn't get selected. So this answer has got a better chance of eventual selection because that is what this company is looking for. So if you take this route, you will get selected. If you take this route, you will not get selected. In this company. In the other company, it might be different. Both answers are getting selected. So machine learning is again contextually driven, saying that for your company, there is a learning algorithm which is getting driven. That generates the artificial intelligence. And they are improving the selection quotient from one screening to next screening by 170%. First time, they got it right only, let's say 2 out of 10 times. 2 candidates out of 10 only they got the right thing. Parallelly done. Manual interviews and AI driven interviews. They only got 20% accuracy. Machine learning brought in. Next time, they got 4 out of 10 right. Next time, they got 8 out of 10 right. Because the learning is kicking in and is becoming better and better and better. So Talocity is now providing services to all of these IT companies who are recruiting in thousands. They're saying, we'll cut down your interview time. You don't have to travel to every campus. We will set up the thing, people can record, bring it, we'll shortlist, we'll give you the top 4 candidates to interview. You can interview. And we are giving you hit rate of 80%. Talocity is now becoming a big business. It's one of the early companies. Now there are many more Talocities coming in. There are more companies which are coming in space. This is robotization. This is happening here and now in India. So does this mean HR has got no job? The transactional part of HR is gone. Screening, looking at CVs and ticking, that job is gone. So maybe we don't need an HR team of 150 people. Maybe we can do with 30 people HR. But the quality of the 30 jobs will be far superior. This happens everywhere. Accounts at one point of time used to have armies of people in the accounts function. Accounts function became smaller accounts function. Everything is Tally is doing it. Yeah? Technology. Robots are coming. So you don't need. Engineers are required to manufacture robots. So similarly, if you ask me, there is an artificial spike in the HR profession today. Thousands of HR managers are being produced in this country today. Actually, you don't need that many HR professionals. Because they're called HR professionals, but what are they doing? They're doing recruitment operations. They're doing training delivery. Those jobs will go away. Delivery can happen internet. Recruitment can happen with artificial intelligence. The feeling part of it cannot be done. If you want to partner business, that will continue. If you want to design training programs, that will continue. If you have to do competency mapping, that will be required. You will need HR professionals, high quality HR professionals, fewer in number. You will need a lot of engineers to develop those automated HR solutions. Actually, a lot of people who are coming into MBA HR with an engineering background can actually put their analytical thing into use in developing algorithmic solutions for HR. It's not that they will not get employed, they will get employed in areas that are best suited to their competencies. And to my mind, in time, good quality HR professionals will be those who can think, feel and do. Those who will be able to actually align themselves to the context and deliver. And those who are able to continuously invest in themselves and develop. Though they will have no problems as far as the future challenges are concerned. Others will be fly by night. HR professional for 20 years, then I'll be a software professional for another 10 years, then I'll be a consultant for this niche area for the next 20 years. They will be employed, but very employed in a very different kind of an avatar. So this is what we are seeing as far as HR here and now is concerned. I hope I've given you a flavor of what is happening and what we are trying to cover here. But I'm open to questions now. We have another 30 minutes and I'm happy to answer questions that you may have.
Grateful and also thank you for doing work. I am a little curious to know, you talked about the mismatch between the expectations of the CEO and what they are talking. But somewhere I felt he is the CEO, he has made the expectations clear to the HR partner. That was one of the important questions whether your survey was able to capture those inputs. And I have also the second question. Did you also ask, did all the HR professionals were empowered by the management or the top leadership team to implement what they think and what the expectations are?
Very good. Excellent questions. Excellent questions. Thank you. So, I also mentioned that when you look at HR around the country, there are examples of outstanding HR. There are examples of terrible HR. And many of the things are somewhere in between. The reasons for why HR is outstanding is one, because the expectations from HR was set at a high level, first of all. If you are asking to play at a high level, only then you will get good results. If you are asking to play low level, you will not get good results. So expectation setting is high. And that expectation is also communicated to the player, saying that I am expecting this from you. And therefore, in the successful cases, communication is actually happening. Now, is expectation setting and communication enough? No. The player also has to be capable of playing, responding to their expectation. So, the quality of the HR professional and the manner in which the HR professional actually ends up playing matters. That's what results in success. So, the successful cases, great expectations, good articulation and communication of the expectation, great capability of the HR professional, and good execution by the HR professional. All four of this come into play of success. Terrible. Why is it that HR is sometimes terrible? It is absence of, if you ask me, at least 2 out of these 4 things are absent, that's why it's terrible. It could be that there is no expectation at all from HR. I don't expect HR to do anything. And therefore I am not communicating also. HR person is outstanding. And he is also able to deliver. But deliver what? Every time he comes, he will say, why? And doing. No, don't disturb me. No. How will he deliver? Where will there be success? So he gets frustrated. Such people leave. Good HR people don't stay in those places. So the person who ends up in those kind of organizations are people who are saying, okay, he is not expecting anything from me, I also don't have to do anything, I get my monthly salary, I am happy, I am HR manager here. Bad HR is what happens there. Or expectation is there, it's also communicated, but people don't have the capability to deliver, HR is bad. Expectation is said, people are good, but communication is not happening, the point that you are making, HR is bad. So, it's missing of any of those two things. What is there in the middle? It is one, there is communication of expectations. There is delivery of HR happening. Expectation is not high, capability is also not high. You are somewhere in the middle. Mediocre expectations, good delivery of expectations. Whatever the expectation, which is mediocre. That's why it's in the middle ground. So if you really want to move from the middle ground to the top ground, what we find is the people who are expecting from HR need to raise their bar. They have to start expecting more than just recruitment. A lot of business leaders, you ask them, what do you want from HR? What I want? I only want good resources available all the time in my organization. That's all I want from HR. That's a very mediocre expectation of HR. Anybody can actually do that for you. You don't need an HR team inside. You have a good outsourced partner, you can get all the resources you want. Because HR is anyway going through an outsourced partner for it. In many ways. Expectation. So they have to be enlightened. So that's an important. Second is the capability of the HR professional also needs to be raised. That's bulk of the cases for moving from middle ground to top ground. Sometimes there are high expectations, high capabilities, high delivery, but communication doesn't happen. Only one item is missing, which is just the communication aspect is missing. It is bulk of the cases that is what is happening. Because HR and line management or senior management are not talking with each other. And why does that happen? It happens because of poor trust and credibility of the HR functionary. In the eyes of the CEO, he doesn't think this HR person is capable of doing anything more. I want lots of things, but I don't think he is capable of. He might be very capable, but in his eyes, this is what is happening. So there is a big chasm between the CEO's perception of HR and HR's capabilities. If you don't address this, you're going to be in a tough situation. He thinks you're bad, you're getting frustrated because he's not giving you the opportunity to do it, you're in a bad situation. This calls for credibility building within the organization. HR needs to build this credibility. And you need to, first of all, understand that their expectations are like that. So, you have to continuously keep figuring out what the expectations are. You got to sometimes show them that you are capable of doing some things more than what they are expecting. So this is the challenge for most organizations. And bulk of the examples here are about giving that example. And that's why this book. And this book is not only for the HR professionals, it's also for the leaders. If you want to be a people champion, these are things that other companies are doing, other HR professionals are doing. How do you know your HR professional can't do it? And therefore, we have presented a model here called the centrality of the HR function. In your organization, how central is the HR function? And we have defined it as 3 different elements: low centrality, medium centrality, and high centrality. Low centrality means that this function is expected and actually carries out transactional work in the area of HR. It is expected to do recruitment, it is expected to do training, we will measure the function, how many man days of training did you do, big metrics, you achieved this 10 man days of training per employee, fantastic, tick in the box. They are all transactional work of HR. Pay slip happening on time, salary happening on time, performance management happening on time, all transactional aspects. And what is the empowerment of HR? To do whatever it takes to make sure that these matrices are met. That you do 10 days of training. That you actually recruit 10,000 employees this year. You actually ensure pay happens on 10th of every month. And lot of good people are working and work is happening fantastically. That is called low centrality of the function. Expectation low at a transactional level and delivery happening. Medium centrality is anything to do with people. You have full freedom to design whatever kind of training program that you want to run. You want to change the performance appraisal system? Go ahead and change. Full freedom. You want to decide how to sort of move people around the organizations in terms of their career development? Full freedom to do it. So there is freedom and there is delivery, but only in the functional area. Anything to do with HR, don't come and talk to me about marketing. Don't come and talk to me about finance. Don't come and talk to me about strategy. What have you got to do with strategy? Forget it. That is medium centrality. High centrality is when you are involved in the total organization. So you have as much influence on the future of this organization as the marketing person. So you can also think about saying that, why are we thinking about setting up business only in South India? Why are we not thinking of East India? Northeast, there is a huge opportunity for our product. I think we must set up manufacturing base in Northeast. As an HR head, are you having the freedom and the welcome to come and discuss this topic? Or if you go to discuss that, they say, we will tell you when we are setting up, you can come and recruit. Now you go. If that is your positioning, then it is only medium. When you are allowed to discuss business issues, because you are seen to be part of the business, not just as an HR functionary, then HR's centrality is high. Because as HR, you can actually influence the business decision. Sir, if you are wanting to set up a high technical manufacturing setup, we must be only in Karnataka or Tamil Nadu. That is where all the engineers are. If you go and set up in Guwahati, who will be there? We need lots of engineers. So when you're thinking about it itself, let's think about this. Market is there. I understand, I didn't realize that, sir, market is there. So we need to be close to the market. So how can we do this? So can we have an assembly unit there and a design unit here? So if HR is involved in this process right from the very beginning, you will come up with much better business decisions. Then, if business people were to take a decision without HR input, and HR were to implement all decisions that were taken, you will only reach a particular level of decisions. So for that to happen, you need to have the credibility. They must believe that you can come and add value. And quite often, a lot of companies use their HR people for implementing and use a lot of consultants for their strategic thinking. Which is true, it is happening. Why is it happening? Many companies call me and say, will you come and participate in our strategic thinking workshop? Why? You can give us perspectives from the outside on the HR aspect. I think for myself, why is the HR person inside the company not being invited for this? One, because they don't think he has the capability. Two, maybe he's not picking up enough perspectives from the outside world to challenge, to actually raise issues. If you ask me, I would rather spend time with the HR person, develop him, so that he can participate in the strategic workshop rather than me going and participating in so many strategic workshops. That is the professional development that is required. When that happens, automatically the CEO will say, before I call the external consultant, let me call my CHR. I want to ask him the question. If the consultant has to be consulted, let the HR person consult the consultant. No, why should I consult the consultant?
Let him come.
That credibility has to come. That is missing today in most of our organizations. That is why you have to invest in yourself. 20 years of service does not make you ready for a CHR. Yeah, it might make you ready for the title of the CHR. To be a successful CHRO, you have to develop your capabilities on a continuous basis to be able to think at a business level, do at a functional level, and feel at a human level. That combination is what is it. I hope I have.
Super.
I have 3 questions. So, how do we manage when there is no scope for human approach? in the organization. There is a conflict between human approach and the cost leadership. So cost leadership becomes the predominant priority of the organization. How do we deal? Is it a better place to be as a in such organization is one question. And the second one, when we come to field factor, which you are mentioning, in the changing employment conditions, like where we are moving from permanent employment conditions to temporary as well as seasonal businesses, so there will be floating population kind of employees. So there, it is very difficult for an HR to bring in this feeling factor. So how do we deal with such situations? That is the second question. Then one more thing, probably which we did not address, engagement, employee engagement. More often it is treated as baby of an HR. So rather treating it as baby of across organization. Every manager has to own it as a employee engagement should be their cup of tea also. So many times it is treated as HR baby, and if it is good, the credit will go to the management, and if it is not good, the credit will come to HR. So how do we deal? And one more thing is that many of the organizations conducting these HR surveys through games like Avon, Evate and all those things. So is it really giving the best results? Is it relevant? What is your view on that?
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. There's a lot of questions, all very, very critical and key questions. So first of all, cost leadership versus people orientation. Yeah, it's a classical dilemma in any organization. What is the purpose of business? Purpose of business is to be successful in their line of vision, whatever their business. Yeah? So it has got a financial metrics, it's got a social metrics, it's got a metrics in terms of its benchmark standards with other organizations. Cost definitely plays a very, very critical and a key role. It cannot be a 0-1 game. None of these parameters can be a 0-1 game. It cannot be that we get the cheapest resource irrespective of their capability. No organization will agree to that. It cannot be only cost. There has to be a threshold of capability or quality. Okay, now let's assume the thresholds are met. And after that, if you need more motivated, more engaged, more capable people, it will cost you much more. Fair? You want a PhD engineer who will be able to develop and design a rocket, you will have to pay him quite a high sum of money unless and until he is a very evangelistic kind of a person who says I work for free. So cost is going to be in direct proportion to capability in many cases. There is a business model where the business has to survive. So you will have to optimize these variables to achieve as a business. This is what your business theories and concepts teach you. Anybody who's done an MBA will know that there are many variables that you will have to optimize it and you will have to arrive at it. As an HR person, if we find that the organization is using the cost factor time and time again to say this is the only decision, and also complaining saying that the quality is so terrible and we are not meeting the results, and what is HR doing? What kind of people are you bringing into this organization? So if that is what you're finding, now your question is, should HR be there or should we go away from there? I would say we definitely should not go away from there. Because to my mind, it's a great opportunity for HR to establish the value that it can add. But yes, you may have a very, very obstinate set of leaders who are not willing to listen to you, who are not willing to think beyond what they are known. Okay? And therefore it becomes very frustrating for you. This is the life of many HR people in many companies. I think we have to ask ourselves, what more can I do to make them realize and understand this? And this is where I tell a lot of my HR colleagues saying that don't think you have to be the Superman or the Superwoman. You don't have to necessarily hold the burden of the world on your shoulder like Atlas. Think, how can I influence? If I can't influence directly, what resources can I deploy to influence? So some of the things that people have done. There are a number of case studies of how organizations which have been unidimensional, cost-oriented, have missed the opportunity to see things in a holistic fashion. Many, many case studies are there. How can you share some of those case studies with these leaders? Now, when you send it to them, they may think, what are you trying to do? You're trying to brainwash me or what? So, as an HR person, a good way to do this is, can we organize for some kind of a program for our leaders as part of their development, leadership team development, and get some of these case studies as material for that program, where they see how some organizations have actually failed because of this unidimensional approach, how some organizations have succeeded because of their ability to appreciate the multidimensional, the need to balance between cost and quality, people and task, and how does that help? So we will have to try and work with them. If everything was hunky-dory, to be very honest, you and I are not required. It can be artificial intelligence which can drive HR. It is this which really gives us the challenge. So my thing would be, don't go away. It's not an easy problem to solve, but it's not impossible to solve. How can we influence? Let's assume you've tried that for the last 4 years and you've tried everything. And you actually be open to a lot of new suggestions and you've tried everything and it's still not working. I would say now it is time that you don't waste your time here anymore, go and do it somewhere else. Not that it's going to be easy there. There also you will find people having the same block, but you may find them more receptive to your influences. That's my answer to the first question. The second question that you asked is about the feeling factor. Yeah, how do you bring in the feeling factor in when you have casual labor, contract labor, outsourced labor, things like that? I don't think feeling factor has got any filter such as permanent employees or temporary employees. It is not something that is going to take too much effort, honestly. It's about how do you bring it to play on a daily basis. Let's assume inside your factory, one of your contract labor actually falls down and breaks a leg. Are you going to say, please take him to the hospital outside, first aid cannot be given inside the factory? Because you feel for him like you feel for anybody else. If there is a first aid center, you will say, please give the first aid here. Please take care of him as much as you want. The filter might come in depending on, do you admit him in general hospital or do you admit him in the private hospital? In a lot of companies, they say contract labor, general hospital. Senior executive, private hospital. Staff, let's decide on the way. Okay, that is a very cost-conscious driven organization. If the person requires good treatment at the nearest place, whatever it is, taking there and making sure that the immediate attention is given there will get driven from the feeling factor. And if you might differentiate it on this basis of saying that staff, I'm not interested, let the contractor take him and go anywhere, what we will have is we'll have more of the Maruti experiences. That's what Maruti did. Exactly what Maruti did. They said differentiated, separate for contract, separate for permanent. Both of them working on the same machine. But the badge they have is different and therefore treatment is completely different. It's likely to backfire in the long run. You want both the employees to be healthy and operate very well. It just happens that contract I'm having because of the flexibility. I don't need him for 12 months, I need him only for 6 months. To get that flexibility, I have gone for the contract approach or the sourcing. But I cannot treat them differently. So that's where the feeling factor has to play a very important. In fact, if you ask me, it has to play a higher role in the flexible employee concept because you have to be sensitive. How are they feeling about it? How are they, responding to it? So the feeling is what needs to change. The operator may not, the production manager may not think about it like that, the CEO may not think about it like that. The HR person needs to hold that flag. In many ways, today my personal opinion is, today's trade union leader is actually the HR head. Because the role of a trade union leader doesn't exist. Employees don't want that red flag trade union leader, but they want somebody to feel for them. That is not gone away. They may not want the flag, they may not want that membership, but they want somebody to feel for them. that role has to be played by the HR person in the organization. And you have to establish within the organization saying that it is better that I play the trade union leader role rather than you having somebody from outside coming and playing the trade union leader. Because I understand your business. I am aligned to the business results and the people's welfare. That's the element that needs to come. So if you ask me, feeling factor needs to be there in every context and in every situation. We have underplayed it too much for too long. Before the repercussions hit us, we must bring it back to the game. Very important. And the third question that you asked me was about employee engagement. Yeah. So employee engagement is actually a very, very misunderstood term. Yeah. Today, if you ask the common employee what employee engagement is, they'll say going for a picnic, having a day out, yeah, and maybe birthday celebrations. That's what they'll say is employee engagement. To be honest, employee engagement is a far more serious concept. It is the concept of an engaged employee with the organization and with the work. And that does not come because of a holiday or because of a cake or because of a picnic. It comes because the work is interesting. It is matched with the capability of the person. It is there's a continuous dialogue between how can you be helped to cope with the challenge, how can the challenge be increased so that you can be stretched. That is what really leads to good employee engagement. And this is not done by HR. This is done by the line manager with the employee. HR needs to facilitate, HR needs to ensure that the awareness is there and it actually happens. Okay? That employee engagement, in some ways, can be rationalized and say, if you have an engaged employee, you have higher performance and therefore you do it. And that's how many line managers respond to it. But if the same engagement happens with the feeling dimension, the engagement is likely to be richer. So those managers who engage not just on a rational platform, but also on an emotional platform, are able to get much greater employees. And that's why they say employees don't leave companies, they leave managers. What do they mean by that? Is the manager engaging the employee, both rationally and emotionally? If that happens, there is a much greater loyalty, much greater interdependency, and much greater development of both the manager and the employee. So that needs to get understood, kind of. And that employee engagement is there in some places, but in many places they don't even understand what it is. I think that needs to get involved. I hope I answered your question.
Do you feel these employee engagement surveys?
Surveys. You asked me about the survey. I don't think anything wrong in terms of somebody outsourced doing the survey per se. In terms of determining what questions get asked, the company must have a say in that. Ask the right questions. And when you get the answers, don't be just satisfied with the answers. You need to do a sample engagement after that to understand whether they have understood it correctly. Do people also feel the same way when they answered it, or did they feel differently when they answered this? Have I got the right meaning out of this survey? Because survey is a sample mechanism. It's a mechanism of putting their feelings into a number against a question and a trend analysis being taken out. We may not understand the feeling completely through this process, but we have to verify that because we want to act on it. It should not be just because I scored better than last year. No. What else can I do? The purpose of a survey is to figure out what more can I do? How much better can I make it? If that is the thing, then it needs to be followed up with an engagement and exercise so that we are able to take it forward. So nothing wrong in outsourcing the survey, but post-survey what happens is more critical.
So in my experience, I have seen the ground realities are something and the survey results are something else. So in your experience,
that will come up the moment you have an engagement after that. If the results were fantastic, but you have an engagement and people say, no, that was not what I was feeling something very different. That will come to light. And if your results are very good, it must result in good performance. It must result in good motivation. It must result in great development. But if those things are not happening, then you know that something is wrong. Yeah, so there must be something amiss. It's like what people say, is it a doctored survey? Is there some manager standing there behind them and saying, no, no, you please tick this box and please tick this box? Is this what's happening? Or people are afraid of saying the truth? Do they just want to make the manager happy? Any of these things could be happening as well. So you need to, that's why engage, go after the survey and find out whether they have understood it in the right fashion.
Unfortunately, that won't be in the consultant's purview. So
No,
unless organization
that's the HR space. To ensure the veracity of the survey is through the follow-up mechanism that HR has.
Just a question, how would you connect gig economy and HR profession? How would you connect that? You explained it in one, from transaction to high strategic as a partner. The engagements are very different. But in specific, if you tell me, how would you connect?
I think, if you ask me, the gig economy is probably already present in the HR domain. Already present in a big way. Because if you look at consultants, the function from which maximum number of consultants come from is HR. You don't have that many finance consultants. You don't have that many engineering consultants. You don't have that many marketing consultants. HR consultants plenty. Why? Because as HR professionals, they probably feel, why should I restrict myself to one company and be the employee of this company? I can actually add value to multiple companies, work in a niche area rather than working on the entire spectrum, and be satisfied and deliver satisfaction. So gig economy is already present in HR, and I think it's only going to grow. Okay? And like I said, the number of HR people within the organization is coming down. One, thanks to artificial intelligence and automation. Two, thanks to gig economy being a good provider of quality services on a flexible basis. So that's likely to take place also. You go to campuses today, HR campuses. 50% of the class is being recruited by your consulting companies and your shared services companies. Yeah? So in some ways, while it is organized because they are big consultants and big shared services, it is nothing but another avatar of the gig economy. You could still have multiple small players providing the same services as well. So as far as HR is concerned, gig economy is not bad, it is good. It gives satisfaction to the profession and it gives flexibility to the organization to pick the right quality. This HR professional is very good when it comes to training strategies. I will use this person. This person is very good when it comes to manpower productivity. I will use this person for that. And this person is very good when it comes to strategic thinking and culture building. I will use him for that. So they are getting the best of all worlds. To find one CHRO who is the best in all these three areas, very difficult. But I would probably get it from three different gig consultants. So to my mind, the economy is very much present, only going to grow as far as HR is concerned. Nothing bad about it.
Hari, you have mentioned about this leadership academy journey of Wipro Limited. Basically, the innovative practices, online learning model, how it has become very, very successful. But if you look into some of the large corporations, maybe SAP or Deloitte or Mahindra, if you look at the employees taking the benefit of this online learning system, it's somewhere around kind of 10 or 12%, nothing beyond. How to bring in that feeling factor for learning and growing and ultimately becoming the leaders?
Absolutely, hit the nail on its head. E-learning has been there for a long time, but it's really not picked up in a lot of segments of industry. In the IT companies, it's very easy because they are doing E all the time. Everybody has got a laptop.
Their blood is
It's like a spanner for them. Yeah, like in a manufacturing setup, everybody's got a spanner, he's got a laptop. So very easy. In a manufacturing context, to get into e-learning and things like that, again, this is where I would go. As HR people, we need to think, what's the learning style that is best suited for this set of employees? It might not even be classroom learning for them. It might be on-the-job learning is what is best suited for them. In which case, most learning must happen in the shop floor. And in manufacturing companies, if you go to Toyota, you will see this. Maximum development happens through their Gemba classes. What they have is Gemba boards. They call learning boards. The Japanese concept of learning It's called the Jamba board. Everybody goes to the board and quickly they see some things, they learn, they go back to the machine and then they apply. They don't take them to a training center. It's Jamba learning in the shop floor. We must adopt our learning to that. So, e-learning may not be applicable to it. That is one. There is also a generation of employees that is shifting. Our generation of employees were used to that kind of a thing that worked very well. The new generation of employees, right from their youngest childhood days, from their school days, from their ITI days, everything, they are used to smartphones. They are learning so much through the WhatsApp and videos and things like that. Classroom learning may not, maybe that's the medium through which learning needs to happen. Okay? And you can't run a course on skill development through that. But you can do refresher modules through that. So depending on what the context is, what the population is, and what the generation of learning styles are, you have to adopt this. Okay? So the Wipro kind of thing is a good example for white collar employees. For blue collar employees, you may find a different solution.
Thanks for that insight. Some questions from students.
Sir, what are the best retention policies for today's business?
So what are they doing? Yeah, so if you ask me, the IT companies are extremely worried about retention. Okay, and capability development is being used as a big tool by them as a thing. That you stay for 2 more years, we will expose you to these 2 new skill set, and therefore you are become more employable. So the measured delivery of capability training is what is being used as a retention tool by most IT industries. If you look at the manufacturing blue collar employees, yeah, good salaries, security of employment, and dignity in terms of your societal benefits is what is catching on. And therefore, if you find in manufacturing today, people are earning phenomenal salaries. A good technician in a manufacturing setup is earning as high as 80,000 rupees a month, yeah, lakh of rupees a month. Very, very standard. But the number of such employees are also coming down. They are outsourcing a lot. So it's a game of high cost, low numbers, high quality, high cost kind of a thing. That's how they'll be able to retain. And they're also giving them dignity. Opportunity to grow through the system. Can you become an officer tomorrow? Can you become a supervisor tomorrow? That's another retention in the blue collar. In the white, are beginning to understand attrition is a good word. We don't want people to stay with us forever. I want people to stay with us for a period of time. It might be 6 years, it might be 8 years, it might be 3 years, depending on the business model. And after that, I actually want them to leave. So I know of companies which are worried because my attrition is only 20%, sir, cost is going up. Because year on year increment is there, cost of that worker and that work is going up, I'm not able to bill it. People are not buying my product. Cost of my product is going up. If this person goes and bring an apprentice, cost will come down. Quality doesn't get affected because it takes maybe 2 months to train them. But if they stay with me for 4 years, cost has gone up. The business model is actually wanting attrition. So people want 25% attrition, which means once in 4 years, this fellow is gone. Average life of an employee is 4 years. Very happy.
So the will be a new KPI for HR.
It is. Not will be, it is. They are saying, take him out of my team. Put him in some other team which wants. No team wants him, then he actually goes out. They then tell him, no increment for you this year. Then he finds a job and he goes out on his own. Because it is a white collar environment, it is not seen as a bad thing. The same thing if you do in a blue collar environment, it will be seen as an industrial dispute situation. Here, they are also aware of it. So I must become a team leader in 4 years' time. If I don't become a team leader in 4 years' time, I am redundant. I cannot continue being a team member for 10 years. I have to either become a quality expert, I have to become a team leader, or I have to become a trainer, something else I have to become. I just continue. So development is a continuous thing. And that is why it is a big retention. If you want to retain somebody, develop him, grow him into different areas. Decide who you want to retain and who you want to let go. And that's a continuous thing. Entrepreneurship is happening. The gig economy is happening here also. A lot of them are becoming freelance coders, freelance software professionals, freelance trainers. They're going back to academia and teaching. I've been there, I've learned it, now I'll come and teach. It's spurning out to a different kind of a career path altogether. So all of that is happening. So retention, these are the kind of things that they're doing. And retention may not be the thing for everybody. Some people you have to let go.
First of all, thanks for your wonderful insights throughout the subject. I have one question. Another 3-4 hours, all the 3 generations will come to company as an employee, X, Y, or what we call millennials. How to frame the policies which is adaptable for all the 3 generations?
So, flexibility in policy is what companies are already adopting. Okay, a la carte policies. No one policy for everybody. In salaries, it is already there. You have an a la carte salary selection. You want pension, or you want cash in hand, or you want free holidays. What do you want? People are willing to choose. So that will happen in every kind of a thing. So do you want contract employment or do you want full-time employment? Which application do you want to fill in? People may fill in. And this is nothing new. I am talking 20 years ago, when I was HR director in Hindustan Levers. We had a policy of medical. The medical policy was that if you retire as a manager of the company, till your death, you and your wife are covered for medical expenses fully. Okay? It was not appearing in your CTC. You were not getting cash on hand. But when you retire, if you were to get hospitalized, you write to the company will take. Just like you have an insurance card. It was not an insurance card. Hindustan Lever, it's not an insurance company. But Hindustan Lever will take care of it. This was a policy that was there. People said, waste of money, why are you wasting so much money? They give us cash in hand, our cash is so low. So we gave them everybody an offer. You want to continue with this thing, and then continue. If you say no, I don't want it, we will give you 3,000 rupees per month cash in hand. What do you think happened? All the people over 40 years and above said, continue, no change. Everybody below 40 said, he's going to get, when he retires, he will get medical, I will not get medical. Can I now opt for the change? Sorry. You have to make up your mind, right? You got 3,000 rupees. That same 3,000 rupees I didn't pay him. I put it into a corpus. And that was growing. And that is grown into a couple of lakhs right now. And that is what is going to give him the medical. Now you also could have saved the same 3,000 rupees and made it. So you make some decisions. Sometimes we make decisions based on our current context. Some of these things are perquisites which are thought by the company from a long-term perspective. But why did they choose to take 3,000 rupees? They said, I don't know whether I'll retire from Hindustan Lever. After 3 years, I go to some other company. This 3,000 at least will be in hand. If I take that, I will not have anything in hand. It was a retention tool to pay that medical after thing that we wanted people to retire. But now things have changed. You said cash in hand, you gave cash in hand. Now they don't give medical for anybody coming in because nobody wanted it. That option was not there. That option is gone away. So people like me who retired 20 years ago get that benefit. Today's people don't. That's how policies will keep on changing. And policies will become a la carte. And to be very honest, today when you have work from home concept, many of the policies are not relevant at all. That you should wear a formal dress to work. How does it matter whether you wear a formal dress in front of your laptop or not? Doesn't matter at all, right? So many of the policies will change. There will be some policies which of course has to be mandatory policies. How you treat another person will be governed by policies because it actually matters to somebody else. It's not your decision. So policies, there will be some which are mandatory, some which will get flexible and some which will change. So these are things which will keep evolving.
Okay, so any last question from students? We didn't hear much from students.
I don't have jobs to offer them.
Okay, so already 12:10. So we have come to the last part of the session. I would invite Kempa to just summarize and give a vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everybody. Harish sir's session is really insightful. He is such a resourceful person. We say always HR professionals. We feel that we are the best. So when it comes to reality, when practitioners comes and speaks in front of us, always there will be a lot of scope for learning. We think that we have done somewhere this, but we have not reconnected or rearranged it like this. The concepts which Sir has explained today, involving HR leaders in capability building, cultural change and the managing of the change, and also as he said, thinking, doing and feeling kind of concepts. Though this concept looks very simple, a lay person can also understand, but in practicing you need a thorough involvement. So sir, it was really a great session. It is an insightful and resourceful session. We are really blessed, we are privileged to have a person like you with a vast field experience in different layers, and afterwards we have done a lot of works in research, writing books. So such a combination, your practice, theory, creating concepts and implementing it as a consultant in different organizations at senior level. So this is a kind of a session where we learned, connected ourselves. Really, we are very much thankful to you, sir. We would like to work with you days to come, so that we all grow. As you said in the beginning, opening speech, where you are allowed to support HR professionals and develop HR leaders, because you have come from the same pool. So in that way, we are really grateful to you, sir. Thank you so much. We are blessed to have a person like you.
I must say that really grateful to Niratanka, Ramesh and team, because I genuinely believe, I did not know about Niratanka 3 months back. Ramesh called me up and then I got to know about Niratanka. And today when I came here and saw the kind of work that he's doing, fantastic. My hats off to Ramesh. I'm very happy and willing to come and participate in any other functions that you may have for development of professionals. I'm willing and happy to do that. Yeah, so Ramesh, you can make use of my services for that. Yeah, always there. And I know that Ramesh has done a lot of work in promoting this book. Yeah, not because it is my own book, but genuinely the way we have gone about doing it is because we want to provide you answers to many questions. Use it as a development resource for your own self-development. Easy to read, and like I said, 25 case studies, and it is priced at 600 rupees in the market, and I think there's a discounted price through Niratanka that if you want, he can arrange to buy it for you, kind of a thing. It's like 20 rupees a case study. Yeah, it's 500 rupees. And if you were to go to any of these companies just to go and ask them one question, it will cost you more than 20 rupees. Okay.
It will not be available.
It will not be available.
So that's the purpose of this entire thing. And for students, if 500 rupees is too much, you people, I know you do e-learning, it's available on Kindle version also. Kindle version is only about 150 rupees or something like that. So those of you who read through the Kindle, you can download it on the Kindle. It's available on Amazon, it's available on Flipkart, and hard copy books are available also through Niratanka. I think you're connected with.
We have around 30 copies we have purchased through the Blossom. Today, like they have given around 30% discount. The maximum 30% we'll give the discounts for you people. Today, if you buy the copy from here, we'll give you the 30% discount, and remaining copies we'll hand over to the Blossom.
So it's a worthwhile investment. I'm saying that if you all of you come here to listen to me for 2 hours. To my mind, if you read this for 2 hours, you get more value than what you did by just listening to me. That's the way we have put it out there. And we don't make much money out of it as an author. In fact, one of the things that I learned as an authors don't get much at all. We get 10% royalty. So if the book gets sold for
He is also author.
He is the author. We have published his book. He has planned such a way that he has investigated all the major publishers, and then he made a contract between us.
maximum here we get 10%, which means we get 50 rupees per book. Three of us are authors, so we get 17 rupees each if one book gets. So it is not a money-making thing at all, but it is about sharing our experience and making you think, about how can you be better. Yeah. So make use of the offer because he's got it from MG Road and he's got this 30% discount. I think the best discount.
Yeah, best.
I don't think NIPM also got this discount. So I think that's fantastic. Yeah. Make use of it, and I'll be happy as a person when I see all of you develop and grow into more effective professionals. Thank you very much, and thank you, Ramesh.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So, sir, on behalf of our team, we would like to express our gratitude and love. Shekhar, I would request you to present a small gift to the sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
So we will have a photo session now.
Yeah.
People can interact with the
We can run like this.
You can sit there.
You did.
Shekhar.